All right, welcome back, Prospect Live viewers and listeners. We're back with another 2021 MLB draft interview. In the hot seat today is one of my local boys, Jonathan Santucci from the prestigious Phillips Academy. How it's going, Jonathan?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm up in Seattle, so not one of my boys. But anyways, let's jump into the questions. I want to talk a little bit about the showcase circuit from this summer. You were pretty loud, definitely with the bat, but more so over the last couple of months, kind of on the mound too, kind of showing some loud stuff. Talk about your development over the last 7 or 8 months and where where you were and where you are now.
Yeah, definitely. So at the beginning of last summer, I was just coming out of quarantine. So at the PG National was really like the first time being able to get back outside, facing some live competition again. So during quarantine, I was working up towards that point, working out as much as I could, getting into a facility as much as I could, and maybe any fields that were open in the area, because the restrictions in Massachusetts were pretty strict back then and still are. So I was fortunate enough to be able to get into a facility as much as I can or could. And then that really helped me over the summer. I was fortunate enough to be able to play with Team Elite all summer. And I spent like 2 months down in Georgia and Alabama playing in tournaments just about every weekend. So that was great to get my name out there and just play against top competition from around the country. And then just carried on through the fall. I haven't been at school since March, so I've been virtual. So I've been able to work out just about every day with a personal trainer from Leominster, and also hit and throw just about every day. And that got me up until this point, going to Florida last week. So.
Absolutely, and you've had a busy summer, especially considering you're here in Massachusetts, and we are incredibly restricted in terms of what you could do with high school and just workout facilities and that sort of thing. Do you feel as though there's some advantages to it? I mean, it seemed like toward the end there you were saying, "Hey, I've been virtual." You're certainly making the best of it. Are there certain areas you feel like you've been able to make tremendous strides in, simply because of some of the work and focus and training you've been able to really sort of dive into some extra time?
Yeah, I've definitely, in a normal year, I wouldn't feel like I would have gone down to like Georgia or Florida as much. The original plan was to play with Team Elite only a couple weekends or a couple tournaments, and then play with a local team. But since of the restrictions, I played with Team Elite just about every weekend, and that couldn't have been any better for me. It was probably my best decision of the summer, and being able to play down there and be able to see or get to play in front of all those people on a daily basis, that was really important and like special to me. So that was the big focus for me as well. But just being home allowed me to just focus a lot more on baseball and training, because I go to a boarding school. So if I was at school, I might not have been able to travel as much, and that's something like I took advantage of, being home and being with my parents that are able to come with me to any tournament I wanted to go to or needed to go to or showcase. So I was really fortunate about that, and that really helped me in the long run.
I want to talk about the showcases because you went into the summer as a bat, definitely a bat, extremely loud batting practice sessions, good athlete out in the field. But over the last couple of months, and when we're airing this is, January, you've really come on the mound, and, you're 91, 93, touching 94. You got a pretty good breaking ball, flashed a changeup. How much identity do you put in being a position player, being a bat? Or are you willing to kind of go toward becoming a full-time pitcher? Like, where do you see yourself on the diamond?
Yeah, so I've always been a position player, and that's always like what I've always put the most work into, because I got injured. I had like an elbow injury when I was younger, and that stopped me from pitching for a couple of years. And then once I got to like 8th or 9th grade, I started pitching again, like ramping up. but I've always put a ton of time into hitting and pitching, hitting and like playing the field. And pitching is just something I've always done as well, just not as much. I've always continued to throw. I think I've only thrown like probably 13 or 14 innings the last couple of years combined. So I wouldn't say I pitch much, but I still work on it because I know how important it is or special it is to be able to do both at a high level. And I just try to get to the point like that I can be as good as I can at both of them, because that will help me out in the long run. If one doesn't work out, can always turn to the other.
Let's say, so like, is there any sort of, training or anything like that in terms of focus just on the pitching side, or is it just more of a, it's a natural ability and it sort of just ties in with some of your, just sort of overall work that you're doing just as, a player and an athlete?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any special work I've done on the pitching side. I feel like a lot of it's natural, and like the way my arm works is really natural. And I've always had that type of arm. I think like that has really translated to pitching as well. Like how I throw from the outfield, I feel like translates to how I pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it comes with a little like ease. So like I would say on the mound. So it's just something I like continue or have began like working on more and more as I've gotten older. Because when I was younger, I would just throw as hard as get on the mound and throw as hard as I can. But now I'm able to spot my pitches, throw more off speed and changeups and things like that. And that's just more maturity as well. But I've just began to throw more and just like bullpens, but nothing too special.
Let me just sort of follow up on that if I can, Joe. Do you feel like you're starting to like pitching more now, or do you just like hitting taters and playing the outfield and being that position player? Because you do hit for some loud power. Like I said, I've seen you, Future Stars series, and you had one of the loudest BPs on day 2, man. Like you were destroying that park in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I've never like enjoyed pitching. Like I've always enjoyed getting on the mound and throwing. It's just something I've never put too much into because I've always enjoyed so much playing the field and hitting. But pitching has always been something I love to do as well on the baseball field. So if I'll continue working on it, more and more as I get older and see where it goes.
It's a good attitude. Willing to take both, see what happens. Clearly talented. I mean, I just think about back when I played, I couldn't throw strikes and I couldn't throw 80. So the fact that you're just accidentally running into throwing strikes, dotting the corners with 94 makes me feel great, Jonathan. Thank you. Hey, my next question is about hitting because, that's something that you've proven you can do all summer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a longer track record for it. I want to talk about your batting stance because I think that's kind of interesting to a lot of people. It's a little unorthodox in the way that you set up and how low the bat is and things like that. Have you always kind of started with the bat laid low like that, kind of like Jason Kipnis a little bit, or is that something you picked up from watching film? How do you get to where you currently are?
Yeah, that's definitely. I feel like that's something I've done throughout my career. Like I remember doing it in Little League, and it's just always been in Little League it was more of to let me stay back more and use the entire field and not jump at the ball. That was something my dad thought would work, and it seemed to help. And I've always tried different stances growing up because sometimes I didn't like how that looked, but I feel like whenever I was struggling, I would always go back to that in some way or the other, and it always seemed to help. So you might as well stay with something that works. So I've fixed it and made small adjustments to it. I used to be really horizontal when I was younger, but as I've gotten older, it's gotten better and more comfortable. So trying to stay with that and just keep getting better with that as well.
I dig it. I like it. I like unorthodox, especially if it creates loud batted balls, man. Keep it up.
You know what, man? Everyone thought Cody Bellinger's swing wouldn't work for like a million years, and I used to fight people on it, and look what's happened, right?
It doesn't work.
Doesn't matter, man. If your body moves that way, that's why it works,
Everybody's
comfortable. Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to dig in a little bit on your high school team. I know that there's obviously some uncertainty in terms of like when the season will start. I know you guys are a little bit different than just a typical MIAA school in terms of who your competition is. But you got a loaded roster. You got some other guys that are in the class, like Jack Penny. I know that's on that squad that's really talented. But also, one of the best pitching prospects that Massachusetts potentially has ever produced in Thomas White, who's really young. I got to see him this year down the road for me at NEBC, pitch an inning or two. And he's an incredibly talented player. Being on a team like that in Massachusetts with multiple guys that are, potential dudes, what's that like in terms of facing the competition, and what are your goals just team-wise for 2021?
Yeah, so I've never been able to play with Thomas yet because last year he was a freshman and that got canceled. So we're really hoping for a season this spring because our roster is unbelievable in talent and like our relationships. I feel like those have been built over the past couple of years, and I think that's really going to help us on the field with our chemistry. And our coach Graber has done a great job of allowing us to like be together as much as we can when we were at school, and trying to connect us together like over the quarantine period, just to keep those friendships and connections together, just in case we get to play this season. But just being with people of that talent, like Jack Penny and Thomas White and a ton of other kids on our team, it's just going to help us tremendously because of those connections, and just going to help us play to our full potential when we are able to step on the field. And I think that's going to put us at a big advantage over some teams.
Well, let's talk about what's next because you've got an excellent college commitment in Duke. That's obviously a very prestigious school, has produced a lot of talent as well. But also in July, you got the MLB draft looming, and your name has really, garnered a lot of helium as of late. Kind of talk about what you hope to do in the next 6 months, how you hope to grow, and where you hope to be, next July to position yourself either for college or for the next level.
Yeah, right now I'm just trying because last week, I don't know if that might be the only time I'm able to play for the next 4 months. So that's why I really was wanted to go down there, get myself in front of all the scouts that were there, and just be able to play as much as I could. But from now until July or whenever I step foot on campus, I'm just trying to get bigger, stronger, just continue to work on everything, every part of my game, because that's really the only thing you can do for yourself. Like, you can't control what happens to the season. All you can control is how hard you work, and just working hard every day and keep getting better. That's going to put you in the right position down the road. So whether that's Duke or the draft in July, I'm just trying to keep on getting better every day to put myself in the best position possible for either scenario.
Tremendous answer.
Good perspective.
Appreciate the insight there. And this is sort of my last baseball question. I don't know if you have any others, Joe. But I'm interested just because you've pitched in, showcases and tournaments. You've obviously hit. So you could sort of give us some insight from both sides. Who's the toughest arm that you faced this summer? And then I'll say, conversely, who's the toughest bat that you had to face?
Yeah, so toughest at bat for me, probably on a hitting standpoint, probably Luke Hayden was one of them at PG National. I think he was my first at bat of the summer, or one of them. So stepping in the box, seeing 95 with a really good curveball and off speed, that was a tough challenge. And then Roman Kimball. I faced him a couple times as well. He's not the biggest guy, but he brings it just as much as anybody else with 4 pitches and can throw anything for a strike at any point. So those are always tough at bats. And then on a pitching side, let's see. At Future Stars Series, I faced had to face like Orlando Pena. He had a couple good at bats against me. And then because I wasn't really able to pitch, I didn't pitch at all for Team Elite. And then only 1 inning at East Coast Pro. So that was really the only big pitching performance for me on the showcase circuit. So that's someone who really stood out.
Those are good answers. I mean, Roman Kimball's he's a personal favorite of mine. I mean, he's probably going to end up at Notre Dame, but his stuff is nasty, man.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Well, hey, Jonathan, I don't have any other baseball questions. Ralph, sounds like you're good to go. So we will leave you on this last question. And Ralph, I'm going to throw it over to you because I'm sure you've got a good Northeast Massachusetts question for our man, Jonathan.
All right. You know what? Well, I always go with a local food. So somebody comes to Leominster or just in the general vicinity, that area of Massachusetts, like north central Massachusetts, we'll call it. What's the place they have to go to eat? Like, what's the local place that you love? You know, like there's like a particular food, whatever it is, roast beef sandwich, whatever it might be. Tell me, man. It's got to be something.
From Leominster,
it could be from around. It could be from anywhere in Massachusetts. It doesn't have to be specifically Leominster, but
or it could be from Seattle.
Seattle too.
I have one place that from Leominster that I've enjoyed. Like I tried it once and I've loved it ever since. It's called Thai Jasmine. It's Thai food. I've never really tried it before.
Yeah.
Ordered something. I heard something from somebody. I ordered something called a crazy noodle, and then I've loved it ever since. So it's definitely something different, but I've loved it ever since then. So
speaking my language, man, that's Seattle food right there.
There you go. You gotta also hit Joe with some knowledge. And who is the most famous resident? Like what's Leominster known for? You drive down Route 2, you're coming into Leominster. It's the home of who?
It's like on the sign, it says the home of Johnny Appleseed.
There you go. There you go, Joe.
The home of plastic, like the capital of plastic, I believe, in the country or something.
That's a good fact.
So the capital plastic of the world?
I something like that. It's like it's all over the place. Like not like right now, but back in like the early the 20th century, plastic was big. Like when my parents were growing up and stuff, like plastic flamingos, like the lawn ornaments and stuff, like that. A lot of that came from Leominster.
I like the Johnny Appleseed thing more. No, I like it, man.
When you come in, man.
Santucci.
I had a friend that lived in Leominster, and I would go out there like once a week to hang out with him, like after work, and I would see the sign every single time with the giant, like home of Johnny Appleseed. So like the first thing that I think about. But Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us here on the show. Best of luck, whether you end up on campus or in the draft as a pitcher or a hitter. We're going to be rooting for you, man, and I hope to catch you at the field playing for Phillips this summer with Thomas White and all these guys. And we can go back to actually enjoying baseball.